and I just wanted to come on and share a happy Friday with you. Hope you're having a great week. I hope your life is grooving. And I wanted to just have a talk, share what's important to me, and maybe some reflections from last Friday. I'm intending to kind of do this weekly thing, just see where it takes me. Um, on Fridays around noon, so we're going with it. Last Friday I talked with Garrett Kramer, and next Friday I plan to talk with him again. And what it's feeling like is that I'll have him on, have a discussion, and then come off each other on the odd weeks and kind of reflect. That's what I'm feeling like I wanted to do. So here I am reflecting with you. And I also want to share with you my intention for this, for myself and for kind of the bigger picture, why I'm doing this, why I'm carving this time out of my day to sit in front of you and to share what's important to me. My intention personally is to more deeply understand my true nature, more deeply understand the nature of my human experience, my place in the world, my responsibility as a human being, and share that with you based on my current level of understanding today and every day and every moment. So that's my intention and my hope for doing so. My hope for taking this time on a regular basis is to remind you of your true nature, and also to remind you of the peace that is available within you and outside of you in every single moment. And ultimately, I know that in my experience, I can only speak from my experience. I know that in my experience, when I am feeling peaceful, feeling good, feeling a quiet mind, a clear mind, I know that I am in greater connection with and have greater access to my creativity, creative solutions, problem solving, insights, and inspiration. And I'll share with you just a real world example as it unfolded in the last 24, 36 hours or so. Um, for the last few weeks, there's been um, a lot of thinking. I've had a lot of thinking going on around like I've been experiencing kind of like a little bit of obviously not a midlife crisis. I think I'm before the middle of my life, but I'm a little bit of an existential crisis every single day, and I trust that I'm not alone. And this crisis goes something like, what the heck am I to do with my life? Like, what is really the best use of my life? How can I use what I know to be of service? And I know that obviously, for those of you who don't know, I am extremely passionate about health, for lack of a better word, health, physical health, and holistic health, even though that word gets abused in modern vernacular. But in any case, I'm very passionate about health and specifically nutrition. These are things that I love. So I know that I'm going to be doing stuff in the world of holistic health in body and mind, and also, of course, nutrition. But and I have been doing that for years, and I've been experiencing just a little bit. And for those of you who maybe know me in a professional context, maybe you've witnessed that there's been just a little bit of a diminishing of the flame of passion in my work and how I show up. And I'm just kind of sitting there going through the motions, right? And I think maybe a lot of us are going through the motions just in our mundane day to day. What am I doing? I'm showing up. I'm continuing to show up. I'm listening to the universe. I'm open to signals. Show me a sign. I'm going to keep doing this and get feedback and do it and go with it and go with it and go with it. And I've been in that place, as I trust many of us have been, for months, with that kind of a little bit of experience of a diminished spark of passion and enthusiasm, but still grateful for my opportunity to do what I do, share what I am. And in any case, I let it go. I let go the thoughts of, oh, should I be doing something different? Should I quit this? Should I go get a real job, like at some shop? Should I be a salesman? Should I, should I be an artist? Should I be a farmer? That's probably the most common thought is, should I be a farmer? Or should I just totally move off the grid and just kind of gather food and grow food? But any case, I finally, after a few months of kind of, I guess you might say, cluttered thinking, I really did have the experience of letting go all of those shoulds or coulds or what ifs, or just letting go the noise and the clutter of my thinking. And in the last 36, 48 hours or so, in the state of clarity and peace and no shoulds and no criticism of myself or what I'm doing or what I'm not doing. Let's face it, I'll be the first to admit, the last few weeks have been what I would call kind of lazy, and I don't like being lazy, but I am growing more and more okay with my inherent laziness from time to time, knowing that it is in those times of quote unquote laziness, or what I would maybe judge as laziness, or maybe Susanna would judge it as laziness, maybe you would judge it as laziness, but it's in those times of laziness, just chilling, just being, where the mind kind of takes a break from all of these buzzing activities. And in that space, there's like new insights and just like crystal clear precision of what it is I'm doing. And I don't need to get into the details, but just a lot of creative like downloads of what I guess I feel like a next chapter or section or something of my life is looking like. And of course, I'm just gonna lean into that and go with it and see what kind of feedback I continue to receive. But the moral of this story is that, are we living our lives, or are we being lived? And the more I can be lived, the easier and more fun and just the better it feels ultimately. And I don't know if Garrett, my guest from last week, who I'm looking forward to having more conversations with, I don't know what sort of language or words he'd put on this. But one thing that has always struck me from his work and from my work with him and talks with him is I guess it's in the Bible. I guess it's in the Bible that I don't know the exact words, but it's essentially something along the lines of being in the world, but not of the world. And it's like balancing that on a moment-to-moment basis, that awareness that like, here we are, we're navigating physical world reality, but there's something beyond us that's moving us and shifting us and connecting us with all other life forms. And it's in that flow and that awareness of that presence and that support that we all have of life itself that really makes life, once again, in my experience, and but I witnessed this as well in others. In my experience, life gets easy when we stop doing it and start being in our lives and being lived. And I'm pretty sure that as long as we're alive, we're going to be having lessons and reminders and opportunities to remember this fundamental truth more and more deeply as life goes on. And we're always going to forget. And I'm the first to admit that when I forget, I have a tendency, or I have had a tendency, to really kind of take it hard on myself and try to remember and force myself, oddly enough, to remember as quickly as possible. But the fact is that there's like this innate remembrance that is trying to burst through to the surface each and every microsecond of our lives. And the more we just let it do what it does and feel it and be present with it and be in the world with that awareness, but knowing that we're being moved and being inspired and just listening, tuning in and listening. Yeah, so that's one huge takeaway from life thus far. And Garrett reminded me of this. The other thing that's an interesting awareness that I've had is this topic of truth. This topic of like, what is the truth? And in a group call this week, we were talking about like the memories and how like we have, there's something happening. Like there's something really happening in the world. And we have one memory of what has happened. And someone who we're with, sitting on the other side of the room, might have a completely distinct memory of what happened, reflecting, weeks or months or years ago. And it's like, well, if our memories are just kind of our best recollection of the past, then the present thinking that we have, the present moment awareness of like what is happening in our world, is our best attempts to gather what is happening in the present. And we're imperfect at our gathering of information and interpretation of that information. Most importantly, the interpretation of the information is going to be colored and shaped by our perception, you could say, or by our past experiences, or by our current state of mind, our current thinking. And we're going to look out the window and see things happening, and we're going to make some story and make what's happening out in the world, make that mean something. And I think it's just, there's always an opportunity to be aware, to be more aware of these stories that we're telling ourselves, and what is the fundamental reality, what is actually happening, because we're all guilty of buying into these misbeliefs, because all thoughts are less than true. The moment we think it, it's not the truth, it's our truth, which isn't the fundamental capital T truth. And this is where things get really sticky, especially when we're caught up in our opinions, where we know for sure that we're right in how we see things and how we know things. And we also know that the other person knows they're right, because we're both right, because we are both convicted in what we're seeing and believing. And that's great. And also what the opportunity is to recognize that all humans have a tendency of getting caught up in this, I guess I'll call it narrow-mindedness, because that's the term that's coming to me, like the idea or the notion that the vision that we have of such and such is the ultimate reality. When the ultimate reality is so far beyond our vision, it's so far beyond that person's perspective, it's so far beyond anybody's perspective. The ultimate reality is, what was the real nuggets of truth that were brought forward last week with Garrett. The fact that we are all cut from the same cloth, we are all part of the same ocean, we are all specks of consciousness in the universe. And as woo-woo and out there as that sounds, And like as crazy as it is to like wrap our human minds around this fundamental reality, it's absolutely undeniably the truth. And if we just like, if we being like the collective just live in our worlds and go about our days and have our disputes and have our opinions and have conversations and be in relationship with perceived others, if we're going about our world with this awareness, in other words, if we're being in the world but also not of the world, because we are recognizing of the enormity of the power of the universe beyond us, what are the implications of that? Like, to me, once again, I can only share my experience, but to me, it takes a whole lot of pressure off knowing that there's nothing I can possibly do to like do the right thing. Because I don't, like, my speck of consciousness doesn't know. My speck of consciousness doesn't always have the full scope of vision of the ultimate reality, even since I guess we could make the argument that since we are part of the same ocean of consciousness as all other life forms and everything else that rises and falls within the universe, since we're coming from the same stuff, we do have this collective knowing and understanding of everything. We have access to all of the wisdom, all of the secrets, all of the answers. We have access to everything. How couldn't we? If these fundamental truths are real, how couldn't we have full and direct access at any given moment? So why don't we find the keys when we're hunting for the keys? I think that's something that I have a tendency of getting frustrated with, is like, trying to figure out the problem when I'm smack dab in the problem. And it's really hard to find the keys when we're scrambling to get out the door, because we're in narrow-minded thinking, lots of thoughts pulsing through our being. But in any case, it's there. The answers are there, and the access to those answers comes from a clear mind, one where we are connected with our knowing of our place in this universe, one with all. And I guess what that looks like is a meditative state of mind. That's not to say that meditating is the answer to finding the keys, but meditative being is our true nature, being in a meditative state. So, trying to think what else I wanted to say. It's always easier when there's another human being who I can take a break, and there's another energy that picks up when I want to take a sip of tea. Matcha, by the way, good stuff. Yeah, just wanted to remind myself, and ultimately these conversations, I'm selfish. This is for me, and I know that I'm not alone. I know that I'm one with you and one with all of life, and I know that we are all waking up to who we are in life. And I know that the more we can be reminded, the more we can be around people who are talking and pointing to the truth, the more we have a tendency to keep our eyes open and stay connected with our true nature. So that's what I'm doing here. And I look forward to, like I said, making this kind of a regular thing, a weekly thing, I guess, on our kind of odd weeks, so to speak. I don't know what's an odd week and an even week, but today is an odd week. Next week, hope to reconnect with Garrett, share some deeper conversations, some longer conversations. But for these odd weeks, intend to keep it short and sweet. And I'm always open for your feedback to see, how you are thinking about life, to see what you're feeling in physical world reality, and to see if, I trust I'm not alone, but you can remind me and leave a comment and let me know that I'm not alone. And let me know if this kind of conversation or the prior conversation with Garrett, let me know if it's kind of helpful to orient you and orient us around what the opportunities are moving forward in 2021. Because, yeah, I guess it goes without saying that when we do look out in the world, we might have a tendency to see a lot of division and a lot of clashing. And really, I guess, people have been calling it a civil war. A cold civil war, a nonviolent civil war, even though there is violence. There's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of discrimination. There's a lot of narrow-mindedness. And I am not immune from hate and narrow-mindedness. And I don't think any human being is. But the more I'm able to, just remind myself of what is true, capital T, true, which is not my thinking. It's never true. What I think is never true. And I don't think what you think is ever true either. But if what I think is never true, then what I think about you think maybe it is true. I think you think what I think. Just kidding. But in any case, if we can collectively go beyond, go within, go outside of our thoughts, and go outside of what our personal truth, personal thinking leads us to think and believe, and rest in what is actually true, what is actually not going anywhere, and really just operate, be in the world, and do your stuff, and have your conversations, and play with your kids, and go to work and pay the bills, and ride your bike and go skiing. If you can do all that stuff with an understanding of what you actually are and what your place is in the greater scheme of this universe, which is humbling, I think that feels good to me. Once again, that feels good. So that's my story, at least, and I'm sticking with it. So thanks for being with me. Feel free to like, share, do your thing, and stay tuned for Friday updates. I don't know what I'm calling this thing, but it's consciousness and stuff for now, because that's the truth. That's what it is. It's consciousness and stuff. What else is there in the world? It's just consciousness and stuff, even though stuff is also consciousness. So it's just consciousness and consciousness. But that's the Friday call for you. It's not a call. I'm not calling anyone. It's just the live stream. So that's Friday, January 29th, 2021. We're wrapping up the first month of 2021, and we're surviving. Hope you're doing more than surviving. Hope you're actually thriving. And if you do just feel like you're surviving, if you do feel like you're scraping by, that's okay. You're okay. You're okay. And I'm here to support you. And I have a feeling that there's a whole lot of other beings in your awareness or not that are supporting you. And it feels good to be supported. Every once in a while, I feel supported. And a lot of times, I don't feel supported. But that's because I innocently cut off my stream of support because I get caught up in this world between my ears, even though it's so much greater than the brain. Well, as you know, I can ramble, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say goodbye and wish you well on the rest of your weekend. And be in touch. Like I said, leave a comment. Send me an email if you want to have a conversation. If you don't know my email, leave a comment, and then I'll somehow get your email. You can send me an email. It's drbenjaminalter, drbenjaminalter@gmail.com. I'm available. I can shoot you an email back and we can say what's up. So peace and love. I do wish you well, and I look forward to seeing you next time, probably Friday, probably the same time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm in Colorado, so it's noon for me. Peace and love, you guys.